Hi, I'm Forrest Lucas.
I'm Morgan Lucas, and this is The Skinny.
From the Fatheads Eyewear Studios in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny, brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, General Tire, and Dream Giveaway. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Toyota. Happy April Fool's Day! Don't be confused if you're actually watching the show. Yes, I know it looks like St. Patrick's Day, and that's because this is a previously recorded show, and it actually is St. Patrick's Day, but we couldn't be prouder to have our first show drop on April Fool's Day, and Rico, I don't think there's a more appropriate day for our show to drop than on April Fool's Day.
Is it supposed to be called April 2 Fool's Day?
Absolutely. So we're pretty excited. It took us a little while to get here, working on it for the better part of a year in conjunction with iHeartRadio, and finally got everything put together, and we're certainly very proud to have them promote this show, and this is our first official drop here on April Fool's Day. Welcome to The Skinny. Ken Stout, Rico, Elmore sitting alongside, and we'll have two wonderful guests with us here today that have certainly influenced our lives all along the way. I know personally that my life would look much different without their involvement along the way, and it is certainly much better because of them. So I'm pretty sure I can echo the same thoughts for you.
Very much. Very much.
So without further ado, we do want to welcome both of them here. One is the founder and CEO of Lucas Oil Products, and the other is the current president of Lucas Oil Products, Mr. Forrest Lucas and his son Morgan Lucas. Welcome, guys, and thanks for taking the time.
Well, thanks for asking us to come down here. It's pretty cool. I'd like to see you guys. I don't see you near enough.
I told Rico earlier, I said, we were sitting in the office before you guys got here, I said, I'm actually a little nervous. Now, keep in mind, we've had Scott Dixon on here and Tony Stewart, and we've had some pretty big guys. I'm like, I'm actually a little nervous here today. He said, why? I said, I don't know. I just am.
So I was in Florida at the Gator Nationals, and Ken and I were talking, and he says, I'm going to reach out to Morgan and Forrest and see if they'll do the first show with us. And I said, all right, man, let's go. So when he called me back and said I got it, which thank God you finally did something, by the way. But anyhow, once we finally got it, it was great, and it is a very personal thing for us. I know for me, and being around your family and with your family as long as we have, it's awesome to get back together. And yes, we don't see all of each other nearly enough anymore. So, and corrupt each other. No, that's me.
We have had some wonderful times, and just off the top of the show, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to both of you for what your company has done, not just for myself and my family, but for literally thousands and thousands of people, not to mention the industry, which we'll get into and we'll talk about here a little bit, but what you guys have managed to do. And I think for the fans that are out there listening, they should understand that this company is still, relatively speaking, extremely young at just over 30 years old. So what you've been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time is absolutely astounding.
I've had a lot of people tell me that back when we were 5 years old, 10 years old, 20 years old. Now we're 30 years old. And I still look back now and say we did accomplish a lot of stuff along the way. And when we started, we had no room for mistakes. We had to do everything right, and it all worked. We made it work.
Yeah, I obviously I've grown up around the business since I was a very little kid, probably a bigger pain in the butt for mom and dad than anything at that point, having to maintain management of me as well as the company. But, you get to grow up, see a lot of changes, but then, after I stopped racing, got involved in this, what became apparent to me was all the new avenues, new markets we were going into with the company, and all the groundwork that my father, my mother laid over the years for all of us in the company. But what I really noticed the most is that we have a brand, and that's really a big deal for us. Is we have a brand now that's recognizable to the majority of Americans. We're related to the quality that we try to put forward to our customers or for our customers. And I think seeing that, is as big of an accomplishment as almost anything in this short amount of time, as you said, Ken. I just really, it kind of just goes to speak of, like I said, just the legacy and the groundwork that was laid out for the company, and the still continued engagement from Dad on a daily basis.
And I look at, boy, what a difference a year can make, right? I mean, a year ago, about this time, it was when everything was shutting down for the pandemic, of course. In the midst of that enormously crazy year, you become the president of this company, and you have to deal not only with that huge obligation stepping into that position, but all of the incredible changes that had to take place quite literally on the fly. What has this last year been like for you?
Well, to be honest, it's been really interesting because when everything shut down last year, I mean, all of our customers, everybody kind of went into panic mode. Everybody was looking for, the federal loans. Everybody was trying to figure out what was going to be the next 6 months of their life. But again, we're a debt-free company, so the fact is that we've done a good job being responsible, planning for maybe not situations like COVID, but for opportunities, and it gives you that scenario to be able to pivot and move forward. We got into the hand sanitizer game for a short run of time, just trying to obviously help our customers fulfill what they need at their request. But what's really interesting is all the things that changed in that amount of time, as far as what people are doing at home, the shopping that they're doing, the way the car markets have changed. We actually saw growth, and in the end, we went from basically being down 12% at one point throughout the year after April. And I don't want to say what we ended up at, but it was definitely up very much on the plus side. Probably by, I think, June or July, we recovered that 12% and then some after that. And it was a testament to our sales team, our general manager down in our Corden facility who oversees both our Corona operations in there. And what they did is they stayed on top of it. We found ways to split up our production shifts to avoid any kind of major setbacks if somebody were to come in with COVID, especially in the beginning. You didn't know how contagious it was or wasn't. And we had to look at things from very much a overly cautious standpoint. But we found a way to do it. We found a way to make it work like so many other businesses and people had to do in the world. And again, we have a family business that has grown into basically a small to mid-sized enterprise, really, if you think about the volume of people that we have. And based on the model that we have, we're capable of putting out a lot of product and fulfilling a lot of orders for customers.
Now, I think something that is common ground for Rico and Fatheads Eyewear and you guys is that the management is relatively tight-knit at the top. So it allows you guys to be very nimble. You can make some quick changes. You can make some quick decisions and really navigate the ship pretty quickly.
Oh, that's it. I mean, that's the way my dad, and I don't want to talk for you here, Dad, I'll let you answer this as well, but that's something I grew up watching him do. He wanted to be able to react to the opportunities as they came. Didn't want to have to go talk to a bank about it if he needed to do something. I think that's actually fundamentally been one of the reasons Lucas Oil's grown the way it has, is because of the marketing opportunities or the equipment, whether it's trucks, trailers, anything to do with the blending and bottling portion of equipment, buildings, whatever it is. He's been able to jump on it, and I think that has again positioned us for a lot of growth.
What this pandemic did for us really was it put a lot of people out of jobs, and a lot of people shut their garages, shops, and it became a do-it-yourself instead of a do-it-for-me situation. So when those people go into the auto parts store or something, looking at something and looking, how can I fix this? People would tell them, take this Lucas Oil and fix it. So consequently, it did. So more and more people now has got the word out. Because every day I know we save the world billions of dollars in repairs. You take this automatic transmissions, we put a bottle of our stuff in there and it fixes it almost every time. So that basically what it amounted to was a big raise in sales, which we were able to handle best by putting on a second shift.
Yeah, I remember, many conversation you and I have had and most of them were you giggling or chuckling at me because it was usually something I was upset about or complaining about that you had already lived 15 or 20 years prior to me talking about it. But you talking about your business that you had, like in Mexico, for instance, and in Europe, about how, more people were interested in actually saving their cars. They didn't just go out and buy a new car. They would use a fix-it product that you guys had or something that would give longevity to, the vehicle or keep it going longer. And I could see in the pandemic, where, you had the factories closed down, so they weren't building cars per se. They were building, the breathing apparatus or whatever it was that everybody needed, the ventilators. And, and some of their stuff. But at the end of the day, folks still had to get around. They still had to have cars. So maybe a lot more people, as you said, were fixing a lot of stuff and using fixed products. But it's like I told you before we went on air. I can't remember where it was, but somewhere I was at, I walked by and saw an end cap with Lucas Oil products on it and just kind of chuckled and thought, I remember, those. And it was, it was one of the sales guys probably talking about how they were having a time getting it going or something. So, but I'm proud to be your friends, and I'm happy for you guys. And we went through a lot of the same, with the pandemic. We, as I was telling you guys, Caitlin was just going into the hospital for treatment for leukemia. And the state shuts down, the world is shutting down for the most part. Well, there's no optical shops that are open, so nobody's going to be going in and getting their eyes checked, buying frames. Sunglasses are a lost cause at that point because, as it felt at the time, the world was coming to an end, if you will. And one thing was for certain, I have a good core group of folks that have been here with me for a long time. And I made some calls and I said, I can't let this company go somewhere and these people be without a job, including me. So I needed to figure out how we were going to do that. And we pivoted as well. And yeah, your guys' hand sanitizer thing, I thought that was really cool and helped a lot of people too at the same time. So.
Well, we were talking before the show, but it's really amazing how both of our companies have actually grown over the years, and kind of to see where we're all at as adults, really.
Right.
Yeah, yourself included, Dad, because we've all had enough good times together to be able to make that joke. And Rico and I probably have enough stories about each other to get each other in serious trouble on this show, so we're not going to bring them up. But
right.
It is really cool to see where it's come. This facility is fantastic.
Thank you.
And to some of the things you're doing with the mobile unit, to go on site, to do some of these things. I just, it's really awesome to me to see, American businesses growing. And I don't know, just excited about the future for that side of it. Hopefully we can just, shut down the electric car movement and then we'll be all right.
Yeah. I watched a pretty good innovator with a lot of my ideas. So he's sitting over there next to you. So
the wheels are always spinning in that head, that's for sure. Hey, I printed something out here, and I want to read it off for our fans that might not be as familiar with Lucas Oil products as we all are. I know Forrest will immediately shoot this thing full of holes because it's probably not up to date, and he's pretty sharp with this stuff. So, but I'm going to say it anyways, and just it'll certainly get the gist of it out. But Lucas Oil Products Incorporated is an American manufacturer and distributor of automotive oil, additives, and lubricants. Founded, as we talked about before, by your father, Forrest, produces and markets approximately 270 formulations in 40 countries. In the U.S., Lucas Oil is sold in more than 30,000 auto parts stores, displaying the most variety of shelf products of any oil company, and at truck stops nationwide. That's a big deal right there. And the reason I want to touch on that is because I remember the story when a 55-gallon drum of oil was spilt in the very beginning, and they were scooping it up with shovels to put it back in the barrel because they needed every drop.
We filtered it, so don't worry. It was good. Just clean. But go ahead, Doug.
I don't remember that last part.
I do.
We might have filtered it just because we had to do something with it. But you can filter it. Absolutely right. You can take your oil out of your motor and completely filter it. You'll probably have about 60% of your oil back, and the other fourth be going to junk. But that other 60% is still good oil if it hasn't been really burnt real bad. So we could have taken that oil and filtered out the dirt out of it, and put it in something where it burned in a fuel tank somehow or another. Put it in our truck, take it back to the truck shop. We have our own fleet of trucks, by the way. So there's good test units as well as the fact they're advertisers. And we're doing things that other people can't do. Our average truck probably got over 2 million miles on it, which most people would never think you could do that. But we got some with 3 million miles, and it's still going.
Are you still the fleet buyer?
Yeah, I'm the okayer at least. I'm the okayer. I say do this or do that, for sure. Yes, I am. Absolutely.
I knew the answer to that. I just wanted to ask.
Well, the reason I bring up the size of their footprint is because there was a time when you were selling it out of the trunk. I mean, it literally started from nothing.
Absolutely. You're exactly right.
And this was, and we should also note for people that are in their mid to late 40s that think, maybe 50s, think, my life is done, in terms of me creating and having my own company, but you didn't start it until your mid 40s.
No, we actually started this before we took the market, for our own use. We're our own fleet of trucks. We had a trucking company at the time ourselves. That's how we started this thing. Was we had something that I thought, man, there's got to be a better way to get through these deserts and stuff, because we run in and out of California all the time because there's mountains and stuff out there. Overheating was always a problem. So I started looking around at other additives and trying this and that. And so, we need to make it better and better and better. And I blundered onto something that still nobody else uses. And it fixed everything. I put it in when I first saw it, I thought, this has got to be exactly what I've been looking for. And I took it home and made some formulas for the engine, for the gearboxes, for the fuel, and everything worked. I went from 4.5 up to 5 miles a gallon. All the emissions went away. Back then, all the trucks smoked. Took all the smoke away. And, at that time, going up from 4.5 up to 5 miles a gallon, that's a lot of fuel. Still is a lot of fuel.
Oh, yeah.
But... And we'll put it in the engines, stop smoking, oil burning. All the trucks burned oil back then, but I was able to stop the oil burning, and then cool down transmissions, and raise the oil pressure. And after a while, I knew it was working. I thought, well, all the truck stops, I know all the truck stops, most of them were independents back then. So, and I know the truck drivers. We had CDs back then. They were a big thing everybody was talking about. So I got some of the truck stops to put it in. And then the drivers, once they tried it, they knew I was a truck driver. So if I did it, it probably worked. I did. And then they'd go down the road talking to me about how somebody stopped the oil, raised their oil pressure or stopped the oil burning and put the fuel treatment in there and get another 0.5 mile a gallon. It was talked about. And we got that going in the truck stops. Then we had started out with just the fuel treatment, upper cylinder lube, we call it, and the oil stabilizer. And then I heard a guy and his wife, or son, in New Orleans, and they knew about the auto parts industry, auto parts source. So we added the transmission fix. There was a big problem. We were going up from 3 speeds to 4 speeds, and it was really expensive to fix those 4 speeds, although they weren't, at that time, were not a lot of trouble, but still fixing the 3 speeds is a big deal when you can do it for $10 or $15. And at the time, at General Motors, every car came out in the early 80s had a bad rack and pinion. They all had a problem. So we were able to put in a bottle of power steering stop leak, which we hadn't made yet, but we made power steering stop leak, and the transfix so we had 4 products. We got 4 products fixing all your basic problems. And to go to the auto parts stores, we made gear demonstrator, little spin things we use.
Your best sales tool ever.
Best sales tool ever. We still make those, still sell them, but still give them away. But yeah, we had it all right there, and it all worked. That's the best part. It worked. When you tried the doggone stuff and it worked, you're going to go tell somebody.
Right. The recall from GM with the rack, they specified your product, right?
They actually did. I saw it. I saw it written, and it said if the guy comes in with a problem, and if it's under warranty, go out and buy a bottle and put it in there. If it's out of warranty, then change it.
I want to go a half step back even a little further, because I'm certainly familiar with that part of the story that you've told. But I think what some of the people at home would probably say is, oh, he found a chemical company to work with that helped him develop all that stuff. But that is not the case.
No, it's not the case.
You're a self-read chemist, and you were literally developing this stuff yourself.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and the trucks going across country, I remember you talking about it, and Charlotte talking about the calls at midnight of, trucks blown up, or this has gone bad, or it's overheated, or whatever, and the wheels again started turning, and you jumped into action and started creating. It's kind of like when you have a fat head and you need glasses, you can't find the ones that fit you. So it's kind of the.
And Morgan was dead on. I mean, while all this is going on, because the company was started at '79, so Morgan is prior to Lucas Oil Products actually being an official company, he is born. So in the midst of all this development, you are born in approximately 6 years old or so whenever it becomes official. So yeah, you're right in the middle of all this stuff going on. We have Morgan growing up, running around, I'm sure, being a typical terror.
Exactly right. Yep.
And I remember Charlotte telling the story where she would be doing the books and Morgan would be asleep, on the floor or whatever, while she's sitting there doing the books. And I mean, I text Morgan as well when the announcement was made, but I was so happy for you, and it was just knowing where all of it came from, and it's not some overprivileged kid getting a position. It's somebody that's been there and worked through a lot of the craziness that's happened over all the years, and had to play in the toy aisle when your dad was trying to sell oil in the back room. And isn't that how that went in the truck stop? Sitting in the truck.
I remember that. I remember sitting in multiple lunch meetings in the iron skillets or whatever they were called at the time.
Oh, that's right. No, iron skillet. That's it. The Petros. The Petros, man. They had the best food.
Driving across the country in a burgundy red Buick Riviera. We had a lot of fun, made a lot of memories, but it definitely has come full circle.
We're going to take a quick break here, pause for the cause, bring you a few of our sponsors along the way, and we'll be right back on the other side. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Rhino Classifieds. Tired of all those ads and random stuff that shows up when you're looking to buy or sell your car parts? Rhino Classifieds was created just for you. Welcome to a streamlined buying and selling app created by racers for racers and race fans. Modified cars, classic cars, race cars, that special big block you need, the trailer to move your baby around the country in. We got you at rhino.co. And once again, welcome back to The Skinny. Morgan Lucas, Forrest Lucas have both joined us here on set. Of course, Rico, Elmore, Ken Stout. Thanks for listening in. This is our first official show in conjunction with iHeartRadio. Certainly very proud to be part of this. Dropping on April Fool's Day, and perfectly appropriate for the two chubby guys on the show called The Skinny.
He's talking about you, Carl.
Which, by the way, Morgan decided to make fun of right away. It didn't hurt me at all, by the way.
Yeah, him and Ron Capps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you guys call that The Skinny? Great company there.
Wonderful stuff.
What are friends for?
Yeah, right.
great to have both of them with us. Of course, they've been massively involved in our family, our personal family's lives all along the way, and couldn't be happier to have them on our first show. We were just talking about the development of the company and how things got going. And the story is fabulous, and we could sit here all day long and really talk about that alone. But we want to touch on a couple different things as we progress along the way. So,
but I got one more question.
Absolutely.
The van. Did the van get stolen and you found it in a field?
Yeah. Yes. No, it was a U-Haul. And yes.
I was trying to remember.
I've not heard this
I was
one.
trying to remember the van story that you used to deliver product. And
Oh, no, this is, actually one of my favorite stories of Dad. Am I allowed to tell this one? So there was the Felspar office. There was we were talking maybe a 15,000 square foot warehouse that we're in at this point. I mean, I was really young. But there was a U-Haul that we had to store sometimes and sometimes make deliveries. And it was a box, basically used as a box truck.
Yeah.
An old U-Haul that we bought.
Right.
I say we. But
It wasn't U-Haul at the time. It was the ex-U-Haul.
It was actually
We owned it now.
It was like one of those
They wore
rolled
it
over
out
paint
anyway.
U-Hauls. You know what I mean?
It was no longer
it was
a
just a
U-Haul.
haul.
It was a wee haul.
Yeah, it was a U-Haul. And some local riffraff broke in, stole some things from the office, and they found this truck and took it and went on a little joyride. Well, police came and they did their normal thing and wrote the reports and all that and told Dad, oh, we'll let you know if we find anything on the U-Haul and we'll get in touch with you. And all right. So that day we were in the car heading to lunch right down the street, and there's this big field which is now covered in houses, been developed a number of years ago now. So it's funny to think back that it was just a big dusty field. But I'm a little kid sitting in the back seat of the car, and I look over in this field, and out in the middle of this field is this U-Haul truck, high centered on some dirt and mounds and stuff like that. And I was saying, is that our truck?
I forgot all about it.
Where's our truck? And so I don't remember what happened in between, but we get back to the office, and Dad's pissed. No offense, but you were pissed about it at this point because the cops weren't doing anything.
of course.
And you were pissed, so you're giving this guy the riot act. I remember I'm still sitting in the minivan at this point. And Dad had this tissue in his hand. He goes to throw this thing down on the ground, and this tissue catches air and just goes foo, 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 down like a
I
leaf.
remember that.
And it was the most anticlimactic big man move I've ever seen, and I was a little kid. But it's funny though because now I do things like that, and I realize I come by naturally. So we're all right.
Exactly.
If I remember right, it was parked on the Indian reservation.
No, that was a different truck.
That's a different truck.
Yeah, we've had some stuff stolen over the years. So
Including a helicopter, if I'm not mistaken.
the helicopter, well, the one was wrecked, not stolen, but right, and then
The one.
no, so but
No, I thought one had been stolen, like the whole trailer.
that might have been at the trail. But actually, the one on the reservation was interesting because I had to fly to Phoenix because they didn't find it until the day after I got home from a race, and I had to start the thing with a screwdriver just to get home because they ripped the ignition out of it.
That's good. Is this yours? Yeah. Why have you got a screwdriver? It's mine, really. It is.
It's an interesting story.
Yeah, we were. Forrest, of course, has many funny stories,
Yeah,
and he was telling, you guys had just gotten the place in Corona, and he was out planting flowers and, sprucing the place up on a Sunday, and Charlotte comes over with Morgan after church, and Forrest's out there all grubby, been working, putting, shrubs in and everything, and there's a homeless shelter down the road from the facility, and the guy walks up to Forrest and looks at the building, and he says, boy, wouldn't it be, and I may say this wrong, so you correct me, but he says, boy, wouldn't it be something to have enough money to own that? He said, way more than me or you, bud. And turned around, walked off, and he thought Forrest was homeless. Forrest was getting ready to peel a dollar out of his pocket.
I need to start dressing better.
But that's the beauty of it. That's what a lot of people don't understand is how absolutely hands-on both my parents have been throughout this whole process.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
when they came to that building getting done, I mean, Dad was there every day, hands-on as far as this, our first big purchase.
Yeah.
And, it was a major retrofit to turn what this was into bottling facility for blending and bottling facility for oil products.
Was it a fruit facility?
Yeah, or orange packing, Sunkist packing
okay,
plant
that's what I
at some
thought.
point turn of the
Yeah,
century.
yeah,
And
they
the home
started building
office
it
for the
18
fans, for the fans at home, the home office are
In Corona,
headquarters in Corona, California, and now you do have another one in southern Indiana, Corden. But you're talking about
Yeah,
Corona.
we still have that. Yes,
Yeah, we still
it's
have
still
that
there.
facility, but at the time he thought there's no way we're ever going to outgrow this. And within 2 years, he's already broken ground on the other facility in Corden, Indiana, which then he had to go be their hands-on with that for a long period of time. I mean, this stretches routinely throughout everything that Dad's involved in. He invests himself into it. And when I say that, like the stadium,
Oh yeah.
for all the Indianapolis people watching and listening, that's a big deal because we lost him for a better part of 12 to 18 months.
17
yeah.
months I was there.
Yeah, and just laying it out, make it exactly how he felt like it needed to be to send the right message and catch the eyeballs the right way and do everything that needed to have happen. But that goes back to the beginning. Mom and Dad both worked, reinvested everything into the company, and I think that is probably some of the best information for young entrepreneurs in the world. Reinvest. They fed me 29-cent cheeseburgers on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from McDonald's if that's what they had to do. But as a family, they made sacrifices so I could have accommodations in life. But they went without quite a bit. And you look at where we're at now, and it's a pretty interesting tale. But you really, you get out of it what you put into it, I think is the right way to look at that.
And your dad, I've been more than one place with him that, of course, nobody recognizes who he is because he is low profile. I mean, he's not putting it out there. We were at Brainerd, headed to the zoo, shockingly. And I think we were coming to find you, Morgan. We were being responsible. It had to be that way. But
yeah, surely. Yeah, don't make me tell the drive-through story.
yeah, no, yeah. Okay, yeah. Anyhow, but,
Anyhow.
yeah. But no, we were going out there, and the security kid says, "You guys can't go back there. He doesn't have a hard card." I said, "We're going back there." He goes, "No, you can't. You don't. He doesn't have a hard card." I said, "You see the name on this race?" I said, "This is Lucas, so we are going back there." Okay, so it was, I mean, he didn't say anything. I was like, "Come on, man," But there was a lot to be said about that. And when I started Fatheads, I knew everything and did everything the wrong way, and it was and still is to this day. There's a lot of things that I remember that he said to me, and to this day, I'm blessed to have somebody like him that actually gave enough of a shit to yell at me about things when they were completely wrong, which he didn't do it enough, but he did plenty. He did get to it. So, but the lettering on the trucks, it was hilarious. We would wrap your guys' trucks, which you guys kept my family alive, bottom line. And we'd wrap these trucks. He says, "I need my old eyes to be able to read that when it's going down the road." And I thought, okay, whatever, change that. And so we change it. Well, now I'm looking at stuff that designers do, and I'm going, I need to be able to read that when it goes. Carl, did I ever say that to you? Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah, I get that because early in my racing career, I always wanted to have these fun wazoo, paint jobs, and they got shot down repeatedly. And now on the same page as you, I totally get it. And don't worry about him not yelling at you enough. You're an adopted son. Yeah. If you're a real son, it changes the game. I kid, surely, but no, we appreciate all the rap that you guys did. That's actually probably one of the best things that our marketing things that in our litany of marketing things that we do. Outside of motorsports. But all the trucks and all of our trailers in our own fleet, they're all wrapped. They're all unique. They all have either different product or a different theme of some sort. Some of them actually advertise Protect the Harvest. Our families or the company's interest in agricultural rights. And then there's the movie things that Dad was in. I mean, you got trailers that are promoting our brands because you think about it. They're huge. They're on the move. And when they're working delivering products, they're working selling products. So it's a win-win situation across the board, but they have to be legible. If you don't make them legible, then there's no point.
And he could tell me exactly, this is this side and it needs to read like this, and that other side can be like this. And if it's on the left side, it has to be a quick read because they're passing you.
Yeah.
If it's on the right side, you're either passing them and they can see it a lot, you know. I just stopped putting my name on my truck because it generally became a problem. So my personal truck, that is.
We actually had to stop putting our logos on our sales team's trucks and equipment just for that same reason.
Yes, they were hurrying to get to the next cell, I'm sure, is
Yes,
what the issue was.
the truck drivers are good. They have to be responsible. I can't speak to the salesman. I'm sorry.
Yes, right.
It's very, very important. I look back on it and realize I had a talent there that most people don't have as far as labeling. Because I actually went to a grocery store and went up the aisle looking at stuff. And, okay, which one of these I buy? There are 3 products here. I've heard of this one. I've not heard of this one, but this one's the cheapest. Which one do I buy? And can test myself like that when it comes to pricing and labeling. But what I did with the labels, I put everything you need to know is on that label. It's all in no more than 5th grade English. You can know no big words. Anybody can read it. And it's all in the size type, so if you wear reading glasses, you don't have to have your reading glasses.
Fat has
You
reading
can read
glasses.
it.
Yes, of
You
course.
can read those things. And that's huge because every label is like that. So you don't have to ask somebody what it does. If you read the bottle, everything you need to know is there, and you can believe it. I make sure everything I say is true.
Yeah.
And a lot of it comes back to that see a need, fill a need kind of mentality. You know, our customers have requests. There's problems that need to be solved, and we go out and tackle that. But there's not a label that we have in the set list that Dad hasn't went over with a fine-tooth comb and studied on and have his touch on. So it's again, it's part of what's really been tried and true in the company, and that's what's made it happen.
My question is, did Kyle ever make the back door on any of the trucks?
Kyle?
Kyle.
No. I don't think he has he?
No.
We were going somewhere. Kyle asked him, "When am I going to make it on there?" We're going to have to work on that.
That's it. He's my nephew and I love him, but I'll tell you what, there's a difference between Kyle and I is that I was borderline embarrassed to have my face on the back door of a trailer, not because of being a representative of the company, but I just don't like looking at myself. And Kyle, on the other hand, wanted himself to be on there, so he has a lot more confidence when it comes to self-image than I do, apparently.
That's good.
You guys are also involved in a number of other companies. I don't know how many are actually under the umbrella at this point any longer, but certainly some of the bigger ones. Lucas Cattle Company, I know, something very dear to your heart. You talked about Protect the Harvest. You also talked about how your parents pour themselves into whatever the project may be that they're involved with. Certainly Protect the Harvest has to be one of the biggest efforts in your career along the way.
It is. It's one of the most important things in the country right now. It's very, very, very important. The name Protect the Harvest sounds like we might be a crop or insurance company or not. It's organized against the animal rights guys, which was HSUS is the main one. Humane Society of the United States. Well, they are anti, really. Comes right down to it. If you had their way, they had their way, you would not have an animal. So we're trying to take care of animals and take care of the property and keep those guys away. Unfortunately, right now, politics is on their side. But there's a lot of people, more people all the time, are far on the side of Protect the Harvest, realizing what we are doing. Somebody is trying to help. And we got a lot of other people now wanting to come on board and help, which we need. But just I say to everybody, just look it up on the HSUS or
on the internet.
Harvest. Yeah, on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to fathom that these groups are out here, especially when you hear the sad song music and the commercials and all the stuff. And
we were just talking
motivates you,
about
right?
that today.
Oh,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but the problem is it's all usually used for
Making money.
it's a profit center for them, but they want us to be vegan, and I feel like that's fine if that's your choice. But if you want to eat a nice hamburger, then you should be able to do that. But on top of that, the pets. But I think one of the things that is probably the most broad stroke of the pen for people to find, hopefully, make them curious about the situation is think about your zoos. Think about the circuses of the world, the places where, schools go on field trips, kids, stuff that we've done our whole lives, places
Right.
that we take our kids
Yep.
to. They're all at risk in these situations, and it's hard to believe for people that a lot of times there's legislation written that these groups are pushing through that have a lot of, let's call it fine print, or
They're just tagged on to a lot of other stuff.
it's kind of like pork.
Yeah.
You just don't know what's really going to be in there, and it causes a lot of detriment to people, a lot of hardships. And Dad grew up around cattle, show cattle farming, the agriculture aspects of it. Grew up on a farm as well, so he knows the ins and outs of it as good as anybody. And I think when you look at it from somebody that is totally outside of that industry at this point, when he got involved in this, I mean, the cattle operation was around, but that wasn't the deciding factor. He wanted to go out and help others that were timid or afraid to help themselves.
In Missouri, right? I mean, that's
In
what
Missouri,
started.
when they wrote the Constitution in Missouri, they used the word pets. And a pet, the way it's written into the Constitution, is anything that can live within 15 feet of your house, which is everything. So they tried to get a bill passed out there. And the way it sounded on the front, like a little common thing, a certain amount of space for your pets, Okay, well, you think, oh, that's all right. That's about what a dog would live in. That's all you need, a cat. So they'd spent millions and millions of dollars out there before I even got involved, and I found out about it. Then I realized about the pet thing. So I got involved. Got some other good people. Matter of fact, your current governor out there was on our side. But when you read down below, off that innocent little top, they started using the word pets. And the first thing you know, they're talking about pets, which would give them control over every animal in the state of Missouri if that had passed. Now, where they would enact it right then, probably not. But they've also passed a lot of bills like that all over the country that have not yet been enacted, but they're there. They already got it done. And then when they get it done in one state, then it's easy to go over to another state. This happened in Vermont. I got involved over there. I couldn't undo it. But
Not to mention the authority that they give themselves within a lot of this legislation. They can act as a policing department in this scenario to an extent.
Yeah.
And really, when you get down to it, if you want to fund lobbyists and make yourself feel better for trying to donate $5 to ASPCA or whoever it is, that's your prerogative. But if you really want to truly help animals, then go to protecttheharvest.com, learn and understand, and find out how it really works.
We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back on the other side, we're going to talk about a battle that Forrest and his company went through and came out on the other end on top of the pile. And boy, it was a vicious one. We'll be right back. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by Dream Giveaway. And once again, welcome back to The Skinny. By the way, a quick nod to our great friends at Dream Giveaway. If you're not familiar with it, go to dreamgiveaway.com. Rico and I have both had the pleasure of talking with Lori Spalding and Ryan Matursky, and they have some incredible cars that they give away. The beauty of it is it's a $25 donation. Part of that goes to charity, and the cars that they give away are phenomenal. By the way, you just missed a Hellcat they gave away literally one day ago, March 30th. But don't worry, there's a couple of more big cats that they will have to give away, including a 66 big block Impala. I mean, all numbers matching. It's a beautiful car, 65 Classic Roadster, a big diesel, 3500 HD Denali. Some of the coolest cars you would ever want to find. $25 to get into the game, and you could win it. And by the way, if you win the cars, it's the only company that I know that does this. They also give you enough cash to pay for the taxes for those cars. So when you win it, you quite frankly win it for free, or a $25 investment, I should say, and you walk away with a couple of pretty wicked cars.
The golden ticket.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So pretty awesome stuff. And speaking of race car stuff, if you have some stuff that you need to sell, or if you're looking for some stuff, the creators of Racing Junk have branched out and started another classifieds. It's called Rhino Classifieds. You can find that at rhino.co. That's rhino.co. And again, Ryan Matursky behind that effort, super switched on. They make things really, really easy to find. You were in the racing industry for so long, and still the company, of course, heavily involved in the racing industry, but you know what it's like to have those used car parts that you would like to sell and get rid of so you can buy the new stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we shut our team down 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm still sitting on a short block and a bunch of other stuff. So if anybody's looking...
It's got a big hole in it.
Rhino.co.
Oh, no,
That's a sight glass, by the way.
Yeah, we actually just epoxied in a little piece of Lexan so we can see through it next time.
See what the oil's doing in there.
I'm just shocked as hell that we got anything left.
Yeah,
blew so many engines up, burned so many engines up, but he had one left. Wow, that's great.
And ladies and gentlemen, it wasn't the oil's fault. It was,
Thank you for that, too.
Whether it's crew chief, driver, related.
Spoken like a true tire company, by the way. The second a car crashes, it was not the tire's fault.
No.
So here's a real testament to the product and speaking of the race thing. So this is how I know it's not the oil's fault. We were in Gainesville, Florida when I first started racing the part-time schedule. Was that 14 or 15? And we go down there, we qualify. I think we qualify 14th or 13th or something poor. Win first round. Cool. All right, this is neat. We're going rounds. We got this part-time crew. We're just thrashing a thing together, getting ready to go for the next run. Warm it up. Everything's fine on the jack stands. Take up the starting line. No oil pressure. Okay, that's weird. Must be something computer. No big deal. I knew I had it on the jack stands in the pits. It's fine. So hit the gas, get on the track, get to the scales. Hey, you guys are about 15 pounds light. Didn't make any sense because we're about 25 pounds over all weekend. So I'm not exactly the lightest rider in the world. So I argue. I mean, I'm going toe-to-toe with the tech department. There's no way, blah, blah, blah. Let's spin around. And finally, they're like, just go. So they send us to go back to the pit, and the guys go pull the drain plug on the thing, and about 2 quarts of oil come out. And our bottom end guy only put 2 quarts stabilizer in there and forgot to put the actual 70 weight in there with it.
Oh, boy.
And it went 3.83 seconds at 300, I think, 14 or 15 miles an hour.
And a new idea was born. The car was 15 pounds lighter for the next round.
On 2 quarts of oil. I'm just saying, it's a testament.
2 quarts of oil stabilizer.
Oil stabilizer, exactly. And that's the interesting thing about stabilizer. Same formulation it was in the very beginning. And now we're putting in top fuel cars. We're putting anything and everything you can. It needs it. It's a really interesting thing when you think about that. There's not too many products in the world that are that's
pretty hardcore.
versatile.
Yeah.
But there's also not too many oil companies that own their own team that would forget to put the oil in the motor and then go race the thing. So here we are.
And then survive to the other end.
You don't there's hear a reason story. I'm just telling you about it now, because if I would have told him about it then, we probably would have never raced again.
I've seen, I've been at the races. Only a couple of times I was at the races with you, and I will tell you that I've seen 2 things with Forrest. I've seen Forrest the happiest he could be, and I've seen Forrest the most pissed off he could be. I mean, talk about a roller coaster of emotions, and that's exactly where racing will take you.
It would depend on the plane ride home. It was definitely, maybe Morgan was going to catch a commercial flight, and I'm staying after.
If it was the first round deal, it's like, yeah, just fly home commercially. I'm good with that.
I don't know. I really wasn't a problem with Morgan's driving. It was how do we come up with these crew chiefs who are great over here with this other guy. After we fired them, they'd be great for the next guy, but they couldn't tune our cars.
Forrest, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's exactly right. You're exactly right. It's one of the worst of them all right there.
Oh, poor Stewie. Forrest would be in his ass a mile yelling at him, and he would say, that's what I'm trying to tell you, Forrest.
I love Stu. Did you know he's a new grandpa again? You know that, right?
A new grandpa again.
Yeah, well, I say Josh, his youngest son, had a baby. It's. I talked to him a few times a year. He's actually talked about moving back here in Indy.
Wow.
He's over California, he says. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Forrest, when he started imitating Stu doing that, that was the end of it right there.
The clock was ticking. By the way, unfortunately, off camera, Charlotte is sitting off to the side. The lovely Miss Charlotte, of course, Forrest's wife and Morgan's mother, and she has her hand gestures and her facial expressions, and it's going on because she's been there every step of the way.
This is being filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
You know, talking about your racing career a little bit for the fans that don't know, I believe it was 12 top fuel wins, 11 top alcohol dragster wins. But I loved what I read, how the whole process started, and I'd love for you to tell the story if you recall it all. But from what I was able to determine, you were 10 years old and you went for a trip to Pomona with your father and met Darrell Russell, the late Darrell Russell.
Yeah, actually, I still remember going to the track. I was 10, 11 years old, and back then the pits were laid out differently. The parking was right up against the fence, right behind the bleachers, parallel to the tracks, and you pull in. I think we pulled in during a pro session, and hearing nitro cars go down the track for the first time, you just, as a little kid, you're thinking, what the hell was that?
Yeah, right.
So you want to get in there and check it out. And, I prior to that, watched my dad race. He did a lot of dirt track racing at the time in Ventura, California, and was really good at it. But at the time, I was a little kid, and I was pissed because I couldn't go back in the pits and hang out with the team, be one of the guys. Not that that's where he wanted me to be anyhow, but sorry, I'm joking at your expense.
No, you're right.
So you go with the drag race, man. These guys start showing you around, and they'll bring you in the pit. I'm sure half of them thought, "Oh, this is Lucas Oil. We're going to get a deal here." So they're probably being a little extra nice, but it doesn't matter. Everybody was just first class. Give me all these broken parts, stuff I still have at my parents' house out in Riverside. But yes, met Darrell Russell, who actually had this bent rim, and I don't know why you still have it, because Englishtown at that point was months before that, but let me have this rim, and he signed it. I took around, this is back when he was racing top alcohol dragster still. He hadn't made the step to driving for Joe at that point, and I got all these really cool old autographs. Whit Bazemore back when he was driving the old Mobil 1 car, and sorry to bring up another oil company here, but it's cool because that didn't last very long, But point is that there was just a lot of history for me at that point. But that was, I think, what triggered me. At that point in my life, I could be involved. I could be part of a team. I loved cars. I loved mechanics, and I wanted to learn. So it was this opportunity. And at the time, my parents were sponsoring a top alcohol funny car team owned by Jason Rupert and a guy named Ed Vanderwood. Great guys. And Ed had a son about my age. So one summer, they invited me to come out and go to the races with them. And my parents let me. They sent me out there with some cash and some hopes, and no cell phone at the time. Those didn't exist. So I was payphone calling my parents every day and checking in. And but that's how I learned. I started off scraping rubber off the bottom of the body and cleaning the paint. And
how could any kid survive today like that?
No, you can't, right?
Exactly.
But it was one of the best learning experiences I could have. I got to be around other adults. You build social skills.
Right.
I learned a lot.
You crewed for what, 2 or 3 years?
Probably 4 or 5, actually. Yeah, but
5 years.
Yeah, but I learned a lot about the mechanical side of it. Determined whether I wanted to drive or just work on them, and whatever happened, I started driving. Within a week of getting my driver's license, I was getting my racing license in a super comp car. Within 2 years of that, I was in a top alcohol dragster for driver Jerry Darian, which a lot of great drivers before me came out of that. Melanie Troxel, Brandon Bernstein, Gary Selzy drove for them. There's a long list of people that had made a good career out of it, and we had some good success with Jerry and Ken, and then had a chance after Darrell had passed to hop in there at Amada with Doopy, and that's the year later we started our own team, and that's kind of the process of the career. But I had a lot of great, good and bad experiences throughout that process of time, but I lived a lot of the life that I could be living in my mid-30s then, so I'm allowed the chance to be, I think, a little more focused dad and a little more focused within the business. And I wouldn't
He
trade
has
that
definitely
experience for
seen
anything.
it top to bottom, probably more than anybody you know.
Yeah, I found it kind of ironic that about 10 years later, you actually filled Daryl's seat for Joe Amato after him being the first guy that influenced you.
Yeah, no, it's a trip. Yeah, that happened. I mean, obviously, I would never wish anything bad to happen to anybody ever. And it was a tragic loss for drag racing, as well as his family.
Oh, for sure.
To lose him, especially in the way that they did. And I'm sure Daryl will always be remembered as one of the greats. I mean, up until Gainesville this year, he was the last person to come out in their rookie season and win their first race. It's pretty cool. It's a tough deal to do. I mean, it's, a lot of people think, oh, it's drag racing, you go in a straight line. I'm telling you what, there's a lot that goes into it. And steering those things it could be tough at times. And it was some big shoes to fill, but I did get a chance to know one of Daryl's best friends, who was a PR guy for us for a while, Rob Geiger, and then got to know his wife a little bit. And great people. Actually, funny story is they raised these, what do they call them, miniature donkeys? I can't remember what they call them, but
Really?
little asses.
Yeah.
They raised them down in Houston, and they had a lot of fun with it. And that was kind of a hobby for them. And I think she actually turned it into a business of some sort. But it's just part of the story.
That makes sense for Geiger. That makes a lot more sense now, the miniature donkey.
Oh, no, that was Daryl's wife.
Oh, Daryl's wife.
But Geiger, it would make sense. So,
Yes.
yeah. But it would be like a hamster, like cat mutation of some sort. I don't know. But
How far back do you go? You go back a long ways. You've been saying Morgan's name for, I can't remember when you weren't there.
Well, my career started off at Englishtown, and it started off in the late 90s.
Why don't you tell how you got that job? That's probably a better story.
I was working with Louis Bloom, actually.
Yeah.
So
Mr. Hand Model himself.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So he hated motorcycles at the time, and I loved motorcycles. I had drag raced motorcycles, and I knew about motorcycles. The only thing I knew about that was at the track, and I came in and applied for a job with Jimmy Knapp, and Knapp said, Lewis is going to get up in a minute and take a break because the motorcycles were coming around. And he said, and you can sit in and call them. I'm like, oh, I'm in. That's right in my wheelhouse. So I could look at them, know what they were, and call them going down the track. I'd never looked at a timing and scoring monitor in my life. So I had no idea what all the incrementals were. And
still look like Chinese to me.
Yeah.
much less whatever the difference was down at the bottom. So I'm trying to put this all together, and I had told this story on here before. Robert is just like barely able to walk. He's maybe 3 years old or something. My daughter's a little bit older, obviously. She's probably 7, and she was super cool, but I looked over at one point while I'm auditioning, and Robert's got this, those copy machine. It was about this big. He couldn't see anything. He's just doing this with the buttons, and this thing is spitting paper out like a banshee. While I'm trying to audition for the job, I looked back. I'm like, don't even look, man. Just let it go. Focus on your job.
It's focus, right? That's how you Iron Man that situation. You just got to power through it, buddy.
You just got to power through it. And what Rico's referring to, if we tell the whole story, is I probably had a couple of beers at the racetrack before I'd gone up to apply for the job. I'm listening to these guys, and I'm like, I was a mobile DJ, and I'd worked at a local radio station at the time, 95.5 The Rat on the Jersey Shore. The Rat rocks the Jersey Shore. So, and I was like, I can do that up there. I like racing. I can go do that gig, So I go up there, and as the story turns out, Jimmy had been to rehabilitation. Jimmy was the wild child of the Naps. Mm-hmm. And he had been to rehabilitation before, and he said, I smelt the alcohol in your breath. He said, and I thought, hey, man, this must be a great guy. If he's going to apply for a job and he's had a couple of beers, we'll give him a shot. So sure enough, I sat in, and I got done with motorcycles. He said, hey, man, you're in. I'll see you at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. And so the career began, in the late 90s. But
that's a good one to have to explain to your HR director.
Yeah. I don't know that would work anymore as we talk about times. No,
we're gonna hire him. He smells like booze. He's really a good guy.
Jimmy and I hit it off right off the bat, though. So just going back and reading some of the stuff that you did along your way, and we always on this show we love to talk to people about how they got started. and what they did, and like Rico always says, 9 times out of 10, everybody thinks there's a silver spoon-fed kid, and there's a bunch of them, don't get me wrong. But almost all the time, the work ethic in the racing industry, which is why I love the industry so much, I love raising my son in this industry, is they're extremely successful people for the most part that still get their hands dirty. They work really, really hard because you well know it doesn't matter how much money you have. You're not going to go out there and win unless you put the work in. That's all there is to it. And I love the fact that you traveled around there with Rupert there for a few years and learned from the bottom up. And eventually, by the time you got on the race car, you immediately showed you had skills. And I've got to think that some of that is due to you understanding the car and knowing what was going on with the car. And your first year, a limited year in Top Alcohol Dragster, if I'm not mistaken, you ran 6 events, qualified number 1 at 5 of those, and won 2 of those. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of it was the car. But Jerry and I had a good rapport, especially early on, where I was trying to understand how the car worked. That's what, prior to driving anything, that was my main focus. I wanted to know how it worked. And we learned a lot and we communicated a lot. And it was one of those situations where I think we benefited from each other in that situation. And like you said, I mean, having the experience of sitting around watching Jason race. And he was a fun driver to watch because that guy, he didn't know when to lift, but he somehow kept it off of things. And he was a good driver, But watching that many runs from behind the car, I think, that visual preparation goes a long way. But I love to get my hands dirty. Even with our Top Fuel program, if there's a point where I knew we had a thrash, I would probably slow him down and get in the middle of it, try to help, pull a motor, do something. And even though I probably wasn't needed for it, I wanted to be in the thick of it because that was fun. But one thing I will say that Darian taught me a long time ago is that proper preparation prevents piss poor performance, right? So when you think about all those P's stacked up together, that goes with anything in life. And I think that, that's work or anything else. If you're not prepared, if the job has to get done, you just got to get in and get it done.
Yeah, good luck is the definition of it is when preparation meets opportunity. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good luck in racing. I mean, trust me, there's plenty of bad luck in racing, but if you want good luck, you better work hard at it. Or it's
is that when they say, "Well, that's racing"?
Yeah,
and then you want to choke the life out of them right after they say that.
I think the only acceptable format for "well, that's racing" is, and Dad knows this very well, is when like some little 25-cent SMC fitting or something like that fails in the car and costs you, $20,000 worth of damage.
Yeah.
That's when you could say, well, that's just racing, because that is literally the, bad luck truck version of racing.
That happens too.
Time for a quick break. Don't go away. This segment of The Skinny is brought to you by our good friends at General Tire. The summer is quickly approaching, and General Tire wants to put some money back in your pockets, because now through April 30th, 2021, with the purchase of 4 new qualifying General Tire passenger tires, you'll receive up to a $70 Visa prepaid card. Choose from the Summer Ultra High Performance G-Max RS, the All-Season Ultra High Performance G-Max AS05, and the All-Season Touring Ultimax RT43 lines. Prepare to prove that anywhere is possible this summer with General Tire. For more information, visit GeneralTire.com. Let's talk about 2006, because that's a massive year. And I believe it's 2006 when this happened. You guys decided to go Top Fuel, or you started your own team, I should say, Morgan Lucas Racing and Fuel. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you had 2 fuel cars that year. Were you also still running the alcohol dragster and naming rights to the stadium, by the way? 2006, big year.
Yeah. 2006 was a very crazy year, and it honestly has transitioned a lot of the trajectory, I guess, of all of our lives. I mean, we all live here permanently now. I have a wife and kids here now. And it's not necessarily because of the stadium, but it's a community that we're attached to. Well,
and I didn't mean to infer that you were doing all of that, single-handedly, because we had talked about Forrest. You said you didn't see him for 17 months. Once that happened, the naming rights, of course, but just you going.
after we did the deal with Tom Zapandic.
Yeah.
He was, if it hadn't been for Tom, we never would have done the deal. He worked for the Colts at the time. But they were getting ready to build it. They had to tear down the old one, you know. And so that was up there, and nobody was wanting to bid on it. And they came to me, Tom did, and my first thought was, forget it. No, we'd never be able to afford something like that. Then I was driving home later, back down southern Indiana, and I got to thinking about it. Hell, I don't even know what they're going to charge, you know? So I called, and we got to working on it, and looking at the future and so on. Because the Colts were really doing good then. That made it. That's why I even did it.
Yeah,
The way the Colts are right now, I would not do
Yeah.
it. But I did it, and while we were building it, one part of the contract we had was we get the plaza. We're the only stadium in the United States that has a plaza. They all want a plaza, but they can't do it. You have to have a sponsor like us, and you have to do it ahead of time. The only ones that ever even tried to was actually NASCAR. They were rebuilding their stuff down there, and they asked if I would
Daytona.
come, yeah,
Yep.
they asked if I would come down there and put a plaza in down there, and I didn't want to. It take a lot of time.
Good move.
Yeah. So anyhow,
Sound
you're right.
judgment.
Anyhow, that was that's still there. You know, we still maintain it all the time, but that was the one thing that sets it apart from everybody else. And we got any kind of race car you can think of down there, tractors, airplanes, all this kind of stuff that we sponsored and we brought there. We got 2 of his tractors sitting on their back wheels, pointing to the top.
Which is the best thing that you see when you walk in.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
right.
it is right there in your face.
I'm a drag racing fan, and it does look pretty cool to me. So
It is
That's
cool.
incredible.
It is very, very, very
And it's
cool.
a great cross promotion to all of the football fans.
Yes, it is.
and it's as a racing community.
It is. It's a racing state.
Yeah.
It's a racing state. And, you know, now it's become, people are starting to appreciate it, that it is there. It's what sets us apart from everybody else. You don't just come in there and sit down. You can go down there and entertain yourself, you know, if you have to wait for a long time, which is what people did, because for a long time there, you couldn't get upstairs. You couldn't go. It was only one way, up or down. So people stay down there as long as possible until it's time to sit down.
How many years has it been the number one?
I think 2008 was
The first year?
2009 was 2009 was the first season. I
Charlotte
think.
a lot better than this.
Okay, there it is. 2008 first season, and then
Yeah, I remember that because I had to call everybody and apologize for blacking out in your suite. That was Morgan's fault.
hey,
Pre-game.
hey, that's right. That was in your parking lot at
We
the
were
time.
pre-gaming.
Yeah, had the motorhome over there.
Horrible idea.
It was a horrible, horrible idea. The motorhome wasn't.
The motorhome was a great idea because it kept everything cool in one place and a bathroom. So
Yeah.
it was really a good idea.
All right, I've got a question for you. I don't know if you can talk about this or not, but I've heard so many stories. I want to see if I can get the true answer out of you. So I heard when you said you didn't think you could afford it. You found out what the number was, but when they heard that it was Lucas Oil that was interested, they didn't think you could afford it, and you had told them that tell them we'll pay them 50% cash up front. Is that a true story? I mean, we know what the deal is. That's public. It was a $120 million deal.
Yeah, I think we did give him some cash up front, not for the whole half of it, but anyhow, it was enough to get them to start looking and find out
You were
that
real.
We're a debt-free company. We're actually making quite a little bit of money, and we had it, and they didn't have anybody else. But nobody. They were back then. A 3-year contract was the norm. If they could have got 5, they'd been tickled to death. So.
Is that still kind of the way it is? Because it seems like
Yeah.
a lot of those places change. Like down in Nashville, that one's changed 3 or 4 times.
A lot of places have followed suit to what we did.
And you're 20-year, right?
Yeah, which is unheard of. And I was messing with them. I knew they wouldn't do it, so I went back to them and said, "Hey, you want to go 25? Because if the dollar gets real the dollar stayed stronger than anybody ever thought it would. So right now, it would have been normal if it would probably have been worth 50 cents on the dollar, you know. But that hasn't happened yet, but I don't doubt that it will happen coming up. Anyhow, it was a good thing. Indianapolis, the people here should realize how lucky they got it. They got the nicest stadium in the world with the plaza inside. They got all these other racetracks, all this other stuff. They got more racing stuff here than anywhere. Yeah. But they have got something to really be proud of there. And the big football game or basketball game coming up here is going to have a lot of people in it.
And to echo that, I've had the good fortune to be able to go to some different stadiums, in the past decade and a half, to see different games. And not only does it have some of the coolest amenities, obviously our plaza being one of them, but easy to get in and out of, easy to get to your seat. It was a well thought out design that I think really caters to the fans in the situation. And not to disagree with Dad's point earlier, but I think the team that we got now they're going in a good direction. I mean, it's not Peyton, but I mean,
I'm with you, Forrest.
We got the nicest suite in the country.
Yes,
actually, I got a bathroom in it. We demanded a lot of stuff and gave them a lot of stuff, But
and
the horseshoe bar is second to none.
That horseshoe bar, I forget what we paid for it, but the first guy that gave the price on it was $1 million.
Yeah. Wow.
Did
you work on that a little bit?
We worked on that a lot.
No,
but we got up.
It would have been the Formica bar.
Yeah. But the another thing we got down there, that motor, the engine, that's all taken apart.
The exploded one, yes.
That's the only one there is.
Yes.
That thing is incredible. That's my favorite display in the plaza is going to look at that. And to describe it for the fans, well, I'm sure we'll get some B-roll here and put in the show for you, but it's a complete top fuel engine, completely disassembled and strung together
on wire.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. I can't imagine how long it took him to do it.
It took him months.
Took him 6 months to do that. Then he come down there. We had him come down there and put it in that cage and put it in there. That took another 6 months.
Oh.
Yeah,
I remember when all that was kind of
that all took place right here in Gasoline Alley.
Yep.
It's incredible.
Who built it?
Tuck. He used to do some work with Waterman Pumps. He's a friend of a friend, a great guy, absolute, amazing machinist.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him in years, but just very unassuming person, just a nice person, and just just loved his work.
Yeah.
Loved to, you could tell he's one of those guys that probably get bored to death if he wasn't tinkering with something.
Right.
He was hoping. He told me later that a lot of other people would come over there and see that, and then they'd want him to build one for them too, because he gave us a really good deal on building it. But we got his picture down there at the bottom.
Yeah, that's wild.
And his name pictured on it. So he'll stand there for years and years, I'm sure. I can't imagine it not being there.
It's an incredible place, and I know all of us at one point in time while we're up there, you have the opportunity to watch the Colts playing football, and fortunately you have these TVs that, for the seats that sit in front of the suite, they all have their own TV. And we're all guilty of sitting there watching the game while we watch the races, and it's a beautiful thing, We're we're keeping up with racing. Oh, we're watching the game, or we're watching racing too, and that's what that suite is, and that's what that stadium is, and that's, as you mentioned before, the state, the city. That's what it is. It's our stick and ball teams, of course. The Colts winning the championship, but also the racing that goes on here is. I get goosebumps. Talking about it, thinking about it, the 500, and we constantly talk about it. For the racing fans out there listening, it's what a bucket list it is. The U.S. Nationals, of course. Just two of the biggest races in the world. It's incredible.
Well, I think we need to bring the Chili Bowl to Lucas Oil Stadium, and then we'll have we'll have it all.
That would be pretty awesome. Some great discussion here with Morgan and Forrest Lucas. Hope you've enjoyed it so far. We're going to wrap this show up, but don't worry, there's going to be a show number 2 where you can get the rest of the skinny on both Morgan and Forrest. Thanks for being with us here on The Skinny. This episode has been brought to you by Toyota, Rhino Classifieds, Extreme Giveaway, and General Tire. For the latest in sunglasses, optical frames, accessories, and apparel, be sure to check out fatheads.com. That's Fatheads with a Z. Production facilities provided by Fatheads Eyewear Studios. All rights reserved.